Okay, sailors, here we are, Skipper Shelley and Captain Dad, in a new spot that I kind of almost don't want to even share because it's so cool, literally and figuratively, and very, very peaceful. I love it here. The minute I arrived, I felt like I was in a different world almost from the chaos of South Florida. It was serene and remained serene throughout my stay, which so far, and is about to end, unfortunately, has been about 3 days. Actually, 2.5. I'm glad this place is what it is for a couple of reasons. One is because I felt like it was my reward for a treacherous crossing of a Georgia Sound that I undertook unwisely on Wednesday afternoon. The reason why it was unwise, and forgive me as the skipper is getting a bit restless, the reason it was unwise is because I was coming up a wide river in southern Georgia with a northeast wind beating against my starboard bow at about 15 to 18 knots, which made the going really, really slow up this river as I approached a wide open sound. In other words, an inlet. So I decided to seek shelter in the lee of this island, separating me from the ocean. As I got up close to the spot where I was going to stay for the night, anchored up, sheltering from that northeast wind, I was looking at my destination across the sound, this beautiful island that just was beckoning and calling me, come, come, Captain. And at that moment, being tired and everything else, hungry, just wanting to rest, I made a foolish decision to cross the sound at about 3 p.m. that afternoon. I believe it was the 12th of June, a Wednesday. Well, it wasn't until I got actually into the sound that I realized how foolish I was and what a big mistake I had made. I can give you the details later, but let me just say, and excuse the forklift behind me, it's one of the rare times where the peacefulness of this place takes a break. But otherwise, very, very laid back here. But back to the crossing. So I start across the sound, and I'm not only seeing waves coming at me, which normally at that size wouldn't be a problem at 7 feet or so. These were standing waves that are crossing shoals in this inlet. Excuse me, I gotta put the skipper down for a second. And they're called standing waves. And standing waves are not only unpredictable, their shape is much different than a wave at sea. Thus the term standing. They just kind of appear almost out of nowhere, and they just stand up as they cross these shoals in shallower waters and adverse currents and all sorts of stuff. Not to mention the fact that I later learned that I was crossing the sound, which I should have probably had a little better grip on, but it's hard because it changes everywhere. But I was crossing the sound not only into a northeast wind, which was now building at 18 to 20 and gusting 25, I was doing it on an outgoing tide. So the wind and the current were opposing each other. And that was another reason why the waves were just standing up, spray over the bow of the boat constantly, wiping my face of salt spray constantly. And as we turned towards the island, after having to go out to sea approximately 2.25 miles in this washing machine of a mess of ocean, we then turned more than 90 degrees to a more west southwesterly course towards the island. At that moment, as the course changed and the boat was not quite yet settled into the onto the course, we took a rogue wave over the stern, actually over the starboard quarter, just the starboard of the center line of the boat, and it literally crashed on top of my head in the cockpit. Almost like being in a tube for a second. Tube of a wave, that is. That was a bit scary, to be quite honest with you. I don't get scared on the ocean. I've done many, many voyages all over. I've been scared once or twice, and I think this was just the second time. It wasn't fun. It's a bit nerve-wracking, to say the least. And it's one of those times where you really want to kind of say a prayer, to be quite honest with you. It was sketchy. But the reward, here it is, and I'm going to again switch the camera around and show you this beautiful place, which I haven't named on purpose yet. But let's start and see what we have here. So